Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another exciting episode of Dad Talk Today. I got a special guest on here. A lot of you are probably familiar with him. Really quick, before we get into this, it's the weekend, so let's start it off right. If we're going to talk about fathers' rights, let's do it. Let's do it loud and proud. Let's be proud to be men. Let's be proud to be dads. And there's a lot of people that are trying to talk down on this message, but we are going to echo it to the rooftops, and we don't care if they like it or not. We're going to do it. So do me a favor. Pull out that cell phone right now, or maybe you're on your computer. Whatever device it is that you're on, I want you to like it. I want you to share. I want you to subscribe. Get down there in the comments and tell us. It's one thing for these three guys on the screen to be talking about what we'll be talking about today, and that takes a lot for us to do that. But we want to hear from you guys because you are the reason that we're doing it. We're fighting this war together. Let's do this podcast together. Many ways that you can support this show. Cash App, Venmo, Patreon. Dad Talk Today, no spaces. There's super chats and memberships over on YouTube, and there is stars and memberships over there on Facebook. We had a few different subscribers that started this morning. I want to say thank you guys so much for keeping it going, and make sure to get your Dad Talk Today gear now. You can message the page about that. Let's get beyond all of that. Guys, we got a guy on here, and I want to show the community a little bit of the behind the scenes and some of the fights that we go through. There's a lot of people that would tell me not to have him on. You know, the sad thing is, I was talking to somebody last night that said, I went on this gentleman's show and I got criticized for doing it. And I want you to do me a favor. After we get off of this, I want you to go to that channel. I want you to like, I want you to share. I want you to subscribe and listen. They are saying the same exact thing we are over here, but people don't like the way that they're doing it. So we're going to get into that. Mr. Palmer, how's it going, brother? I can't hear you. I don't know if you're muted.
You know what? I'm sorry. I had muted the mic. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, brother.
Okay, make sure. Okay. Yeah, I'm doing good. Just came from the gym, getting myself in order. Good morning, Heather. Hey, Caleb. Hey, that's a good brother right there. He's been through the trenches for a lot of years.
Yeah, man. We got everybody showing up this morning, guys. Glad to see you. So, Larnell, that's Mr. Palmer to everybody else. This is my buddy. So I'm going to address him as Mr. Palmer too. You started a page a good while back, and I think the name has been very controversial to some. And for many, once they see the name, they won't be able to get past the message that you're trying to get out. What is the name of that page?
The good news. Is it the good news of child support?
No, it's this right here.
Okay, you know, I don't think that name is concise enough. Can you tell me how you really feel about child support?
Fuck child support. I mean, fuck child support. That's my feeling about it. I stand on it. And I have a lot of reasons why I say fuck child support.
Absolutely. I got you, man. And there's another thing. Like, I didn't realize, you know, you're probably a lot like me, Mr. Palmer. I don't have enough time to go around and watch everybody else's podcast. It's not that I don't support them, but if you are a content creator, it takes your whole life, man.
It does.
I mean, between editing, running the social medias, trying to keep up. So I don't get to see it as much, but every once in a while I'd be on Dad Talk and we'd start talking about these guys that are going against these toxic exes, and they'd show up and talk about the baby mama terrorist. And I'm like, where in the world
Yeah.
is this coming from? This baby mama terrorist. And to most people, it would seem, again, I was no different. You know, Larnell, we had talked in the past.
Yeah.
And I appreciate everything that you do. But there was times when I was out there in the political arena and trying to get this going. They have this narrative that we're a bunch of angry deadbeat dads that don't want to pay child support. That's what they do. And
Yeah,
anything that they can take that you're doing and shape that to be their narrative, they'll use it. And so I knew, I was like, I love what this guy is doing, but if I have him on there,
Yeah.
they're going to say that we're the angry deadbeat dad. They're going to say this fits the stereotype. So we were talking. We might not have gotten to do anything with each other.
We always talk behind the scenes.
We always talk behind the scenes. All of us.
And I understood where you was coming from.
Yeah.
I understood exactly where you was coming from. And I used to tell people like, yeah, we talk behind the scenes often, but he's in a different lane than I am. But I did say this. I said, I hope one day he realized that these politicians, they know exactly what's going on. They want to play naive and shake hands, take pictures and make it look good, but they're not about to change these laws. They're not going to try to fix nothing. So
absolutely, man. I'm with you. I'm with you.
That's why the other reason, fuck child support. I'm gonna talk about that once we get into this about why I say fuck child support.
I'm with you, man. Like I said, guys, I think we're all saying the same things. It might be in a little bit of a different way, but I want to get back into this because, again, there's going to be somebody that's going to see you saying that, or they're going to hear the baby mama terrorist, and then I don't want to hear anything else. But you made a really good point. This was another one of those conversations that we were having offline, talking about the baby mama terrorist. You know, you see what we went through down there in Arlington, Tyrone Darling. He was completely ambushed by mom's. Everybody thought it was a boyfriend, but it was a transgender woman.
It was a lesbian. It was a lesbian relationship.
It was a lesbian. Okay. And she starts hitting on Tyrone, and then the mama pulls out a gun, shoots Tyrone, gets the child, and takes off. Would we consider that a baby mama terrorist?
Exactly. Those is one of the examples of a baby mama terror. These are domestic terrorists who are destroying our children and destroying fathers' relationships.
Absolutely, man. And another thing, man, like the world is so divided right now. I think our politics, races, everything has just kind of like tore these people apart, and they think we're not facing the same battles. Guys, it doesn't matter what color you are. It doesn't matter how much money you've got. This can affect everybody. Now, is there going to be different challenges? Absolutely. And because of that division, sometimes you're not able to talk about it as well. Mr. Palmer, out there on the streets, tell me something. What are you seeing with these baby mama terrorists, and what are some of the things that are going on that the world is not paying attention to?
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. A lot of people are paying attention to it. What they do this.
Yes.
They do this. Because a lot of people will not go against the code. Our society has taught us that mothers are the better fit than dads. They have taught fathers are not needed. Fathers are not important. They're only good to pay a check. They're only good to pay a financial incentive. They're not good to be an equal parent father. They're not good to be around their child. They're only good to be either weekend visitors or alienated fathers. Well, people got to understand that this system is a $60 billion industry. And even in Illinois, I'm from Chicago, Illinois.
Yep.
You know, in Illinois, they've been having the 50-50 equal parental time on the table for the last 5 years, but they never pushed it. It's been on the table for over 5 years. The reasons why it's not pushed because ain't nobody forcing to push because they don't want the equal parental time to be mandatory. Because if they make it mandatory, and I even got a video where they talked about it, they will lose millions. It's not about the best interest of the child. It's about the best benefit of government daddy, which is family court. A lot of men are destroyed because of family court. It's not about the best interest of the children. If that's the case, then why not have it automatically equal parenting time unless they both agree, nah, I don't want equal parenting. You know, that stigma that men didn't want to be fathers, men want to be deadbeats, men are running for their responsibilities. Well, let me tell y'all something from me doing a lot of research. At first, it was 85% of men are non-custodial weekend dads or whatever you want to call it. But now it's 90%. But when it was the 85%, out of the 85% of the men who are on child support, did you know that over 60% pay their child support? And did you know when it comes to the 15% and the average 85% father made $40,000 a year? When you go over to the 15% of the women who are non-custodial parents and supposed to be on child support, did you know out of the 15% that they only make $15,000 a year salary and over half of them do not pay their child support. So when you want to use that term deadbeat, what is the real definition of a deadbeat? Is the 60% that's doing their part, or is the ones that that's over 50% not doing a obligation by paying that child support? So that's what I'm saying. What is the definition of a deadbeat? Because when I looked up the term deadbeat, it says a person who don't pay their bills, not a man who don't pay their child support. See that, and that's what I'm saying. The society teaches us what they want you to be taught. They don't want the truth to come out that men are actually a better fit. Men are actually most involved fathers, and all this stigma that black men are having all these kids all over the world and stuff like that, and men ain't trying to be fathers, is a lie, because 54% of black men are childless, and 50% of men are childless. So where's all these deadbeat dads that's out here in the world? They've been lying to us. They've been lying to you. Your mom even lied to you when she said your daddy wasn't shit. See, that's why they don't like me. But one thing about it, and I tell people, you don't like how I talk, you don't like what I say, just prove me wrong and I'll shut up. But I still can't find nobody to prove me wrong. So what they do is the shame tag, say, oh, you just don't want to pay child support. Oh, you just don't want to be a father. Oh, you just a deadbeat. You just stupid.
Yep. And that's how they use the narrative. You know, that was something I was just talking about yesterday. If you're one of these fathers that goes through this system and this is where you're supposed to get justice, you try to get your kids, they end up finding out how much money you got. They drain your banking account. Your ex is over there getting it, and she's got a new man trying to tell your kid, to call that man daddy. Your kid is seeing him more than he's seeing you. That was something that Dr. Brooks McKenzie was talking about. I want you to understand something, guys. They talk about the fatherless statistics. When you are only seeing your kids for a couple of days every other weekend, okay, that is still considered a fatherless child. What father can instill the morals, values, and lessons into their kids that they need to when they're only getting that limited amount of time? They are a visitor. But after you go through this system and you try and you get caught up in it, and they still try to make you look like a deadbeat, if you want to have more time with your child or you want to be involved in their life, the system has gave somebody the control, the one that has the power, and you have to go talk to them, and they know that they've got the power. That's not a deadbeat dad when he says, I just can't do it anymore. That is a father that has met a dead end. Okay,
Exactly.
because no matter what he says to his baby mama terrorist, okay, no matter what he says, he's not going to be able to see his child, and they have the power. If the courts won't overrule it and they see all this evidence, that's the thing. It's not that these dads don't have evidence. I've seen some of the guys that can show everything
Yes,
that
sir.
these women are doing, and the courts don't listen to it.
You know why, right?
For the money.
It's the money.
Yes, these judges get bonuses. These judges get a certain percentage in their pension. They get stocks when it comes to this talking parent and all that stuff. It's a money grab. It's not about the best interests of the child. When that Title 4D came into play, and I tell people about the history of child support. Child support started back in 1935, and a lot of people know what I'm talking about. Back in the day, child support was actually justified because back in the day, women weren't allowed to work. They weren't allowed to do anything but raise that child in the household. So if the father went overseas, fought in the war, and never decided to come back, then I believe child support was justified. Another thing that they had under child support, that if you was not married and you had a child out of wedlock, you didn't get child support. And I agree with that. But as time go on, and you saw that, women getting more rights, women having more power, they're having more ownership of businesses and stuff like that. They never changed it, but what they decided to do was add the Title 4D into it, and that Title 4D, in my opinion, was sabotage this child support, because now anybody can go to child support. Even if you live in the same household, you get put on child support. If you did it the right way, because people will say, well, you should have got married. Well, who you think are going through majority of this child support? Men get it worse, because not only does he have to pay child support, he also got to pay her alimony or spousal support. And then here's another thing that I did not find out until today, actually. Now, shout out to Cornell Smith, because he's talked about the paternity fraud.
Yep.
30% of men are paying child support for children that's not theirs. Now, we know about that. Shout out to him. 30% of men are paying child support for a child that's not biologically theirs. But what I found out this morning was them 30% of men were guys who was married. So what about the men who are not married that are paying child support? So far as I'm concerned, I'm learning now that is more than 30%. So I'm wrong for saying fuck child support. And when the man go to court and show the DNA and say, hey, I'm not the father, and the judge say, you've been paying for it, keep paying for it. Or they say, well, here in Michigan, good old Michigan, because they one of them, you still got to pay.
But Mr. Palmer, that's the best interest of the child for him to keep paying and for them not to know who the daddy is.
Let me explain something about that term, best interest of the child. You know where that term came from, right?
Go ahead, brother.
That term, best interest of the child, came from Adolf Hitler. So when people say that it's the best interest of the child, I don't take that shit seriously at all. Again, fuck child support. That's why I say, is this really about the child, or is it really about the money for government daddy's cookie jar? How can you call a woman who's beating the child, who's murdering the father, who's trying to be a father, lying on his father, putting him in jail on false allegations, using that child as a weapon, a shield, a rocket launcher, as a prop? How can you call that person a mother or a woman? That's not a woman or a mother. That's a baby mama terrorist. How can you compare her to a mother who is here to teach, love, and nurture? How do you compare the two? That's why when certain women get offended, I'm like, is you like this? No, then why would you be offended? That don't have nothing to do with you.
I'm with you, dude. And that, you know, I'm sure you get it over there on your show too. The moms too crowd that shows up. Well, moms are going through it too. Well, I get that. But how many of you are going to these mom pages that are calling us the deadbeats, the ones that are trying, guys that are paying child support, finding out that the kid wasn't theirs and that the judge tells them to keep? How many of you are going over there saying dads too? And you want us to fight for you, you need to start getting loud and speaking the truth. Because here's the thing, when men speak for equality, when we do what we're doing here, that is equality for everybody. That's equality for the children. It's equality for the parents. And we are so far from equal. You know, Mr. Palmer, I get this. There is a reason why dad talk is hated. Why shows like yours are hated, because we speak truth. Yeah. We know that there is a bias inside a family court against men. And dude, when I first got here, the people that would say this is a 50-50 problem, it's happening to just as many moms as it is dads. No, it's not. You are freaking crazy, man.
You know what, brother? That's why a lot of fathers' rights moved in one of parts of me, because I went on AP and I told them, I said, no, it's not men and women problem. The most alienated are fathers and the father's parents, the grandparents. The mother might be what, top 8? Mothers don't have them problems. Yeah, you get a select few. Now, I'm not saying it's not a baby daddy terrorist, but when it's all said and done, 90% of women are getting custody of our boys and girls. So I'm not going to run around and say it's a man and woman problem. And that's another thing. And shout out to you and a lot of others who taught me differently. It's not just a black man problem. See, when I came in, I'm thinking it's a black man problem. But when I went into family court on my own and found out, no, it's not a black man problem. It's the color is green. They don't care about what man stand up in that courtroom, whether if he was married, whether if he's educated, whether if he got money, whether if he's a celebrity, whether if he's just some man on the corner or a bum or a deadbeat that you want to call it, get treated all one the same. Because why this man who say F them kids get every other weekend versus this man who was married and did it the right way gets every other weekend? Don't you think that's not no type of bias going on here?
Well, I know, Dwayne, you're wanting to chip in here, dude. Oh. I want to make sure to get this out, though, because this is one, like we hear about Title 4D in the community all the time. Mm-hmm. No, it has no race, guys. It doesn't. At the same time, was there different challenges that came after the black father? 100%. The black family used to be one of the strongest family units in the world. Then they started creating legislation similar to Title 4D that we've seen breaking it apart. How many single mother households are you seeing in the black community, Mr. Palmer?
About over 85%.
Yeah.
Over Section 8, guys. We will give you government housing. We will give you insurance. We will give you food stamps. We'll give you all these things you need, but you cannot have a man in the home. Legislation acts that way. Will give you everything you need. The government will become the daddy, but you cannot have the dad in the home. Now, how many in that community, Larnell, are you seeing that has multiple baby daddies?
Oh, man. Again, that might be 90%. And here's the thing, and this go back, and this what messed up the black family structure back in the 70s when this welfare came out. But I talked about this, and a lot of people on my channel can and contest it. If you look at the Manahan report. Now, if you look at the Manahan report, it says that, everybody was getting welfare at the time because the jobs that was keeping men, from working, right? And I don't know. You could say it's the white man game. You could say it's white supremacy, but these black women made a choice, and I'm gonna tell you why. When all the men who was had to leave out the house so the woman could get welfare, the white woman got rid of the welfare once he was able to get a job and move back in the house. The Mexican man was able to come back in the house. When the black man wanted to come back in the house because he had his job, the black woman told him and said, "I don't need you. I'd rather keep this government daddy's hand out." So they kept the black man out the house. See, they don't talk about that. And then when you talk about that, they say you hate black women. No, it's the truth. A lot of these baby mama test choose single motherism, and they will sit back and say, "Don't no woman a right mind choose single mother." Well, I guess they want a right mind because a lot of women choose single motherism. They choose to be single mothers because they rather get this check. They rather get more money off him. They see he makes 6 figures. Why not live off his money and I ain't got to work? That's the reason why the black community is destroyed now. Lack of fathers. Not because black men didn't want to be fathers. The mothers didn't want the father to be involved.
You know, another thing too, man, is, you know, just a couple of years ago, we were seeing people all over the streets with Black Lives Matter. And I was glad to see like a grassroots that could get that big. But why weren't they talking about, if Black Lives Matter, why aren't we talking about the black father that's not in the home?
Well, if you look at the real agenda that Black Lives Matter really was, if you go on their website at the time, they might have deleted it, but they openly told people what their agenda was to look out for the black community of the LGBTQ. It was not about father. What they did, they used black men's death of a police officer or by a police officer to use their agenda and get paid. They did this to reap the benefits for the black alphabet community. What they wanted to do was build a tribe or a community full of LGBTQ and have the transgender be the father of the household. If you look on the website, they tell you this. And when you look at all the money they made over $90 million, and they donated 30 million to 95% or 98% of, I call them alphabet community, to the LGBTQ communities and organizations. They didn't give no money to the victims of the family. They didn't give no money to try to change the laws or to stop racial profile and everything. They donated their money to the LGBTQ organizations only. So they and it wasn't even hidden. It was on their website. So it was just a lot of people didn't bother look. And I told people to look. People that exposed it. People still said, "Nah, they not there for that." And that was false. And look at them now. Now everybody want to say, look at they money and look who they spent it on. She paid her baby daddy to do nothing and the brother to do nothing. Now they want to say she bought houses in a white neighborhood when she said the white man was the savage beast and the white supremacist. See, that's what I'm saying, man. We've been had. But I peeped that once I went on their website and saw for myself. It was fuck Black Lives Matter, because they was not about Black lives. They sure weren't about black men lives. They was just using that for a scapegoat to get paid.
Man, it's been so long. I mean, we should have had him on earlier.
I mean, you know what? They probably did a petition to get rid of Dad Talk Today.
It's just, I'm sitting here going,
They did a petition to get rid of him.
Facts, data. I mean, all this stuff I personally love with this. I mean, just bam, bam, bam. It's been great. Yeah, I actually had up on my other screen that talk about about like I'd say who's the better parent, but it says here from a pre-research report that black fathers 70% of the time were most involved and likely to have bathed, dressed, diapered, all those fun things, which I'm sure, based on what I've heard from you so far, you probably already knew that years ago.
Another thing. Black men have been looked at as the beast, the savage, the deadbeats. Even Barack Obama said black men need to be better fathers. Even a lot of politicians said outside of him, we need to be better fathers. But when y'all really look at the statistic, black men are the most involved fathers. Black men pay the most in child support than any race. So that's why I say a lot of things that we would listen to what society says, and whatever they said was true, whether it's your mother, whether it's your grandmother, whether it's the teachers or whoever. When I started doing my own research, really learn about the depths of child support and fathers' rights and all this, I realized that it's a political game because they want to keep their money and keep the power in their seats. They know that women are the most consumers in the United States of America. They know that black people is only 13% of the population, but we spend 1.2 or 1.7 trillion dollars in this nation. So if we really wanted to make change in our communities, we would actually stop buying from these these big industries. If we wanted to make a lot of changes, stop. If we want to get a black hate crime, if we want to stop the racial interrogation, all this stuff, we had the power to do so. But nah, a lot of us, and I'm talking about most of these black women, they want to buy Jordans and MKs and Louis Vuitton and stuff like that. They don't want no change. They just want to reap the benefits off government daddy's handouts and get the power to destroy black men.
Right. So, I mean, again, a lot of knowledge, a lot of information. I'm going to have to go back and you rewatch this a couple times. I mean, it was great stuff there. So, like, what do you think the issue with the communities with receiving this information, actually making change? I mean, all this information's out there. You've condensed probably 20, 30, 40 years of research into about a minute. Good job. But what's one of my issues and Eric's issues is how to disseminate this information to where people get it, retain it, and actually do something with it. Not go what you were saying earlier about closing their eyes, ears, mouth, and putting their head in the sand. What can be done, or what's the issue?
One of the things I tell men, one thing I definitely tell men when it comes to family court and child support, it's not just a black man problem; it's a man problem, and we all going through it. I always say we all need to come together. Build a brotherhood, and we definitely have to spread awareness. See, one of our problems and one of my mistakes was when the baby mama terrorists fight in court, they fight keeping their veins cold. They go at all costs to destroy you. They will lie on you. They will say you beat them, you raped them. They say you beat the kids. We come in there saying, I just want equal parenting time. She's still a good mother. I don't want to make this worse than it had to be. See, we can't come in like that. We got to come in there blazing, because that's how they coming. Another thing is, as I tell men, we have to change the laws in our mind. And what I mean by that is we have to get ourselves in order. We have to spread the word to our youth not to go through the same situation. As you see that in this day and age, is really getting married an option? Is it really worth chancing your livelihood? Because the reason why I say that, I'm for the traditional family. But the problem is, too many men, like, how can I tell everybody that, hey, get married, do it the right way, and you should go, no problem, just like that, if we keep looking that 80% of the divorce filings are started by women?
What can I add to that? How do we keep telling our men to go inside of those family courts where it's a game of poker with your kids at stake? We know that even if you have the evidence, they're going to take all your money. No matter what you do, you are going in there. And unfortunately, most of these dads are looked at as guilty the second that they walk in there. Are there going to be some cases where somebody gets good results? Yes. And they try to use that one to say that's what all dads can get.
No, and that's not.
And it's bullcrap, man. How do we keep telling our people to go into that broken system?
I don't. I tell guys now, if you see that you're losing your livelihood, you're getting sick, destroying your household and destroying your livelihood. I see people that lost their careers behind this. Wash your hands and move on. And it's a cold game. It's a cold, and wash your hands and move on. And that doesn't mean that you don't go back and fight again. But that's what I say. Change the laws of your mind. Get yourself in order, physically, mentally, emotionally, financially, and spiritually. Then maybe you can come back and fight again. Maybe you build your finances and do what you need to do. Maybe you can go back. But it's so many people that got murdered behind this. There's so many people that's in that committed suicide. Did you know the suicide on men is 20,000 a year based off child support and alienation? Just off that alone, every year. A lot of them are military veterans. A lot of them are people with careers. A lot of them are people who did it the right way. So I tell them, wash your hands and move on. Because you're gonna destroy your livelihood and destroy yourself. I know people who got divorced the second time because that wife couldn't deal with it no more, because he started to take it out on the wife at home, the stepmom. So that's what I'm saying. It comes to a point where you have to just take a halt. You're gonna have to fall back. Maybe you could live the fight again, but I'd rather for you to fall back and try to better yourself and get yourself in order than you committing suicide. There's too many brothers on even on Facebook I seen actually come on there and say their last post and commit suicide
Yeah.
behind this. They couldn't deal with it no more. They can't take it no more. And I'm tired of and men going to jail for Xing out the wife, Xing out the baby mama. It ain't worth it. We need men out here to spread the word and try to spread awareness for our youth. Because some of us, it's just too late. It's too late.
It is,
But
man.
it is. But we can spread the word and put it out there for the youth to say, you know what? I learned from what happened to my father. I learned what happened to this brother on Dad Talk, Mr. Palmer, and everybody else. I think I better focus on my career and what I want to do in life, and don't get myself caught up in a situation like our forefathers was. And because of that, this is why the birth rates are at an all-time low. If you look at the sperm banks of black men, did y'all know that the sperm blanks of black sperms at an all-time low? Black men ain't donating sperm. You got
blanks.
Yes, they not out there donating their sperm. You have what's the other thing that is going on? You have, unfortunately, you got less marriages, and you have more men who are childless. So even though, and I tell people this, even though the laws is not going to change, the laws is not going to change, not in our lifetime. It's going to always benefit government daddy. You don't have the power to necessarily change the laws over there, but you have the power to change the laws within yourself. You make your own laws. Never go through this situation again. Spread the word. And that's why, to me, in my opinion, that's why they passed that Roe versus Wade, because they're losing money as they have less people birthing children. More children, more child support, more spouse support, more divorces, more money going to government daddy, $60 billion industry, more jails, 74 billion a year in jails, because most of these children are fatherless, come from fatherless homes or lack of fathers. They end up going to jail 20 times. That's what I'm saying. This system is not broken. It's not rigged. This system is designed to do what it's doing.
Well, and it's getting worse. And I agree with everything you just said. Again, there's the Republicans out there right now that are pushing the Unborn Child Support Act, that they want you to pay child support the second she says she's pregnant. And there's multiple different bills. I want you to see the charades that the political system operates. And dude, I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do it at all. But right there at the end of last year, I went to a political conference just because I knew this Unborn Child Support Act was going down, and I wanted to put everybody in the hot seat. And we did. There's like 3 different bills. One of them says that you'll have a paternity test and everything, but there's another bill that's going out there. You will pay upon conception, and she doesn't have to take a paternity test. She can choose the baby daddy. And a lot of times they're going to choose the baby daddy who's got the most money. Who's going to benefit off of that? The government. This legislation that goes through, guys. Again, these fatherhood bills where they say, oh, we're going to help you get better jobs. That always benefits them, because if you get better jobs and you make more money, they just take more money from you. You stay in the same place, but you keep elevating them. It is the biggest game that we've, and it, dude, I get so hot and so heated about it, because where is our guys, man? We can't be messing around with this no more. You hear about that? Caden's Law. Caden's Law wants to say that you can no longer claim parental alienation. They don't want you to be able to use experts, which the experts are just as crooked as the attorneys many times. But guys, once this legislation gets in, we're on the defense, and they'll get it in without you knowing about it. There is millions of us. And guess what? When these laws get passed, they're going to find you. They're going to find you, and you're going to be paying for it. So you better start doing something about it now. Am I saying get in the political arena and with the voting? No, I'm not. I'm saying get loud, organize, show up, and say, bullcrap, man. Stop messing with our families. Talking about that deadly narrative. It's how they use that narrative. I want to get back on black fathers for a second. There was 2 guys that popped in my mind when you was talking about that, Larnell. Chris Emanuel and Christopher Carlton. Here was a guy that the ex adopted the child without even telling him, right? Well, Emmanuel knew about the fatherhood registry, and he got his kid back, because that fatherhood registry, you're assuming responsibility. As long as you pay the child support, we'll be okay. We'll make sure that you get the kid. So he got it back. But there was Chris Carlton. His baby mama told him not only was his baby a boy, and when it was actually a girl, but she told him that the baby had died. And really what had happened is she put it up for adoption. This guy fought for years trying to get his kid back that they had adopted through the system. And I want you to understand this too, guys.
Wait a minute. Is that the one in South Carolina?
No, this one was out of Utah, I do believe.
Oh, okay. It was another.
And I need to hook you up with him. You'll love him. That'd be a good interview for you,
Okay.
man. But Carlton fought for years trying to get his child back, man. They wouldn't do it. Here's another thing, guys. CPS makes a good chunk of money for every kid that comes through that system, and they push it back out to another family. There is incentives for that adoption.
Yes.
I want you to think about that. Why would you not give a father their child that's saying, I'm here, I want to love them, I want to take care of them? Mom gave them away. He still couldn't get that child. It's all about the money, dude. And you got that narrative going. What about these guys that are trying? Why aren't they putting that on the mainstream media? Because they don't want that out there.
Because it's not good for business. They want to say that men don't fight. And then I get a lot of people that say men don't fight. I said, well, how do you think the father's rights movement's been around? South Carolina.
Oh, that's Chris Emanuel is out of South Carolina. Yeah. Chris Carlton is out of Utah.
Okay.
Yep. And I want to hook you up with him, man.
I remember that case, but that's what I'm saying, that they don't want that floating around that men are fighting to be fathered. And I tell people, I'm like, well, you never heard of the father's rights movement? Father's rights movement is worldwide. Father's rights movement started in 1965, I believe. And you telling me that men ain't been fighting for their children? Are you serious? So that's what I'm saying. They'll say anything to make it sound good and shame. I'm like, all you gotta do is just look around. You go on social media and see father's rights movement. But they would say that men do not fight. And then and this is another thing I want y'all to understand. When you hear people that work for family court, lawyers, social workers, the judges, when they try to shame you and say, well, y'all need to fight. There's no excuse why you not being there for your child and all that stuff. They are salesmen.
In that system.
They are salesmen. They only tell you that to go in there, spend that money, fight a bad investment, lose it all, and still don't be able to be a father to your child.
I think it was more of a Hulk Hogan moment, actually, to be honest.
Yes.
Well, let me tell you something, brother.
That was the truth, man. They'll always try to shame you. Oh, well, you need to get in there. You need to get you an attorney. You're not doing everything you can. Now, man, you're not going to be able to speak out about this if you're not in the courts and you're not showing that you're trying. The same people that will tell you that these courts are messed up are the ones that try to get you in there.
Yes. Just what do you got to lose? I've been there, done that. Can I play this sound bite? This goes out to a lot of people that actually thought that family court is really about what's right, what's fair. I was one of them. What's best for the child. Let me let Denzel speak on behalf of Malcolm X.
You've been had. You've been took. You've been hoodwinked. Bamboozled. Led astray. Run amok.
See, people really thought that, and I did, because I said, well, I don't have a criminal record. I planned these kids. I was there for 11 years, staying in the house.
Yeah, you're a great father before.
I was there. I didn't have a kid as an accident. I didn't meet her at the club, and I just knew that I could get equal parent time. I stayed 20 minutes away. Nah, he don't believe in equal parent time.
So, Mr. Palmer, when you tell this message to people, what do you get back from them? Do they receive it? Do they give you the Soma stare? I mean, what?
Well, I'll tell you this. When I first started the Fuck Child Support on Facebook, when you hear Fuck Child Support, first thing you get is you don't want to be a father. You don't want to be a father.
You're the deadbeat. Yep.
But as they start seeing the videos I post, they start seeing the articles and stuff like that. They was like, no, he's about being a father. He's tired of the bullshit. And a lot of men more reciprocated versus women, but then some women be like, my husband is going through the same thing, or my significant other is going through the same thing. My son is going through this. My brother, my nephew. So but I still get the one to say you should have kept your pants zipped. And I said, is that what you tell married men? And we should have picked better. Is that what you tell other married men? But I realize when they say stuff like that, that just means F them kids. They don't care about them children. Oh, you hear the ones that tell you both of y'all need to do better, even though he's showing the receipts on who's being alienated and who's not being civil. They say both of y'all. When they say both, they just saying that because they don't want to go against her. They want to stay on that feminist code. They want to stick to the code. They don't want to say it's her. They want to just say, well, both of y'all need to stop being childish and all that. Don't fall for that. Don't fall.
All the ladies out there, when you're hearing stuff like this, the one thing that hurts my heart is if you got sons, if you got grandsons, you got nephews, can you imagine what this is telling them? How that their masculinity is toxic, that they can't be good, that they can't be a parent, they can't be a father, and you're wondering why a lot of these guys are going their own way. This is the message. I was talking to these ladies that was in college. They wanted to talk to me about what they're seeing inside the school. And they said, Eric, while we are in there, our professors are telling us to be strong, independent women, that we don't need a man. We can do everything that a man can do. And they're saying this in front of our male colleagues. They are teaching these guys that they're and you wonder why these guys don't want to be masculine, or we are having a problem with people knowing who they are anymore. I mean, it is a big problem. So if there's any ladies out there, I want you to realize this is what's happening to your sons, your grandsons, your nephews. It's a very, very big problem. It's outside of your battle with your ex. Okay. This is going to make its way to your kids. And every time you tell these men that they don't matter, you're telling your sons that they don't matter and that their masculinity is toxic. That is one of the most dangerous things I've ever seen on the face of this earth, man.
And that's why a lot of our boys are feminine and emotional, and they can't lead. They don't want to do nothing. They raise, just like, shout out to Coach Greg Adams. A lot of baby mama tears raise they sons to be son husbands. And believe it or not, that's one of the reasons why we don't have a lot of men support from other men, because a lot of these dudes was raised by these baby mama tears as well. So a lot of them are gonna say, nah, you just didn't want to be a father. No, I'm a male feminist, and no, I think child support is fair and just right. You know, they side with the same ones who birthed them and raised them to be who they are today. That's the unfortunate part.
Actually, oh yeah, man. And shout out to Coach Greg, guys. If you haven't followed them, that's just another channel. He's been on Dad Talk before, but he does something called the free agent lifestyle. And if you're one of these men that have been through one of these toxic divorces, or maybe you wasn't married, you just went through one of these family law battles, you need to go check out the free agent lifestyle, because I do believe in the nuclear family. I do. Unfortunately, I don't believe in the government's version of that. If you want to get married, do it between you and your spouse and God. You don't have to get the government involvement. But a lot of you guys, in the middle of your hurt, I'm a hypocrite here. I did this, right? As soon as you get hurt, you try to jump into another relationship because I want the nuclear family. I want this. And you're not healed, and you haven't learned to take up for yourself and just make sure that you're happy being yourself. You need that free agent lifestyle. Get in there, live it for a while. Later on, once you know and you can defend yourself the way you need to, and you think that you want to make those next steps, do it. But I would tell everybody, get in there and learn some of this stuff, man. There is a reason that men are going their own way. It's because the world has made them.
Or get a surrogate.
Well, isn't that what Younger did?
Is it? If he did, I don't know.
Or get Jeff Younger. Well, yeah. I mean, he was married. His biological wife couldn't have children. They did like artificial insemination on a surrogate, and then it still happened. I mean, we have the one in Kansas where they got a donor. They used a sperm bank, and they actually sued the sperm donor for child
I heard
support.
about that.
Yeah, I mean,
that was some years ago. I said, wait a minute, he's just a donor. How he got to pay child? And they granted it.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, the laws are crazy. I mean, we had a court case a few years ago where the guy and the girl never cohabitated, but the judge went ahead and gave her his assets. I mean, I hate to say going monk is pretty much the only way to do this, but I mean, the laws and the court cases that come down, if you value your financial freedom, your health, your life, it almost seems like that's the way to go. And I'm a huge hypocrite. I'm a two-time loser, third-time success. I've been married 3 times. So, and I've made a lot of mistakes, and hopefully there's other people that, learn from that. But the laws just are completely against you. I keep looking for the like successes, and I was hoping to ask Mr. Palmer, like, as you've been doing this, do you have like a success story that you think of when you get down, or you think, I want to get out of this, or you get frustrated, or is there just a success story that you're like, man, this is a crowning achievement moment for me?
You know what? Good question. There's been times I wanted to stop, I wanted to kind of just throw the towel in. Because I say this from the get-go, and a lot of my supporters can tell you, I tell people all the time, the majority of society will not side with you.
Yep.
When you speak the truth, they will go against you. And I even talk about the Bible, and you ain't got to be Christian, part of Christianity. Jesus spoke the truth, and look what happened to him.
Yeah,
Martin Luther King spread truth. Look what happened to him. Malcolm X, Medgar Evers, and so on. All these people who try to spread truth for what's right. And our society is so manipulated and taught that when people like us speak the truth about fathers' rights, we just some men that do not want to be fathers. We don't want to be involved in all this shit. But the reality is they want us to just be quiet and just go along to get along and keep the shades drawn. But what I'm trying to teach men is no, that ain't what a man does. If we're supposed to be the ones to lead and we're supposed to be the ones to also teach, then we need to spread awareness and continue to do what we do. What makes me continue to go forward is the loyal supporters that I do have. The loyal supporters that spread the message, that actually tell me, hey, man, things actually got better because I washed my hands. Others who said I had to cut my own child out because they were so manipulated, they was destroying the household. What keeps me going is my loyal supporters, to be honest with you.
I agree.
Dude, I mean, I think anybody that has been an advocate in this space and had passion and they work hard trying to pull these guys together has had those moments where it's just like, look, I'm not making money on this. And I'm putting all of my time into it. And I'm realizing, like, dude, it's wearing me down. There's been, I know 3 times in the time that I've done this that I got physically sick. There was 2 times I ran a fever for a month, man. A month straight, and it was from burnout. I just went over it, at the end of last year, dude. I didn't think I was coming back from that one, guys. I really didn't. 3 months. I mean, like, I had physical ailments where my ears were ringing. I couldn't hear. I felt like somebody was standing on my chest. And these custody exchange murders, that really hurts me because these are guys that are coming to us for answers. Yeah. And I'm like, what? I tell you to wear a bulletproof vest? Or what do you tell these guys to do? Because we know nobody's listening to them, but we still need to sound the alarm. And unfortunately, fortunately and unfortunately, fortunately, we got these platforms to get this message out. Unfortunately, this is the only thing we've got to get these messages out. So we have to tell you to like, share, and subscribe and get you in here because we're going to need all hands on deck. But guys, it is a real thing that every one of us face is that urge to quit. But then you get in that inbox and that guy said, thank you so much for doing what you're doing. Being able to watch your show let me know that I was not alone and is the only thing that's kept me on this earth.
Yes.
Dude.
I have young men that don't even have kids. Thank me. And that's who's one of my people I'm trying to talk to, the guys who don't have kids, the guys who don't have these problems. Because I want them to understand that this system is designed to destroy you men. I'm just gonna keep it honest. When I saw that John Mass situation and what was the other brother, Chad Reed?
Chad Reed.
I tell that's why, and I tell, like, I have most black men on my channel, but I got people from all over. I tell them, I said, white men been going through this way before we've been having this problem. White men pay the most in child support. White men go through the worst when it comes to racism men, to be honest with you. So, I mean, this is a man problem. And when I saw that situation with Chad Reed, and then they turned around and said that this man is going to get off scot-free. And I told people, I said, that baby mama terrorist set him up. That was a setup. And they know that it's a stand your ground law in Texas. And they know that Chad did too much. And they knew he was going to do it. That's why that man got off. And that woman got custody of them 2 boys. And that's what I mean by fathers being destroyed. And John Mass and the document you did and the interviews you did with that man when he said that he was trying to see his kids with the supervised visitation, his kids spitting on him, fighting him because they were so manipulated. Then when finally he got the chance to see his children overnight, the ex-father-in-law set that up and the baby mama terrorist set that up. How can you not call that a baby mama terrorist?
I do have to say allegedly for
allegedly. Okay, allegedly. Sorry.
Sorry. But didn't want to interrupt the flow here.
No, it's fine.
There are people out there.
Allegedly, but You know what it is. I know what it
Yeah.
is.
Well,
Yeah.
you know what? And I want to speak to that point, guys. I've been on the streets. One thing, like, I'll go anywhere that we can get the message out, and that doesn't scare me. Crazy thing is, I went all across the country talking to these politicians. Then we went to the streets. We've been everywhere that we can get the message out. And then these politicians that I'm talking to that are begging for people's money, they're begging for people's votes in some of these cities where these problems are just tearing families apart, tearing communities apart, and there's none of them out there on those streets talking, dude. None of them.
Ignore
You know
that.
why?
Guys. And you know what? The media has done a really good job on dividing. I want you to think. You have your Republican news with Fox News. You have your Democrat news with CNN. We have just accepted the fact that there's division. There is a left, there's a right. But dude, both of those wings belong to the same freaking bird, guys. And so what they have done is they have divided our people, and we haven't been working together.
Nope.
There's black fathers groups. There's white fathers groups. I mean, whether they want to admit that or not, these groups have just kind of segregated themselves. Can we have all hands on deck for a second? If you're watching Dad Talk, I want you to go to Mr. Palmer's channel, and I want you to like, share, and subscribe. And I want you to understand some of these guys might be facing different issues than you are, but so are you.
Yeah.
But
We're
it's
all
all
together.
going back to the same system. That's why he says F child support, man,
We
because
all
child
under the
support
same.
really is the very top thing. Okay, this is the reason why they're doing it. The money that's being made, Section 8, all these different incentives, they are tearing apart all of our families. I ain't worried about skin color. I'm worried about being a dad.
Exactly.
You hear me? And we need all of our dads working together. At the end of the day, dude, it's going to take every single one of us. And I think me and Mr. Palmer got some ideas on how we can marry some of those issues. And let me tell you something, guys. These are great ideas, and I think they'll work. But we're going to need help. We're going to need help because we're not going to be getting that VAWA funding. We're not going to be getting the funding that the opposition is. So when you see some of these ideas coming up, and we're keeping it close to our, our hearts, because there's people in our own community that will try to sabotage some of this crap, man. We need our brothers showing up here and fighting together. For so long, they've made you feel that you're not important, that you don't matter. And we know that most of you guys are at work and you haven't been able to show up at the Capitals. You haven't been able to organize. Well, that's fine. You might not be able to show up in person, but can I ask you, will you show up here? Will you show up here and let's finally be the damn movement that we were called to be?
Right.
Dude, I'm so fired up. I want to see it happen. And I think the reason that even those moments that we're like, I just can't do this anymore, the reason that we keep going is because we know what we're fighting for, guys. We know what we're fighting for. I want you to understand the baloney that's been handed out to us. And that's why shows like today is so important. We're not trying to be anything that we're not on this screen. None of us are sitting here trying to say we're perfect people or anything, or that or get the message out in a certain way. We're saying how we feel, because this is real, man. And this is what we need to do. And that's what's been needed to be done. As that guy that had to worry about those optics, Larnell, I had to be very careful in what I did. And then I just realized, man, like, why are we sitting here trying to be PC with this message when these people aren't even accepting it in the first place? I have been trained from the very beginning. I mean, and look, I appreciate all my mentors behind this. There's people that have done this for decades before I got into it, and I'm not putting them down. I mean, it was a lot of thankless work, and I've asked myself, how did they stay in here so long? Because it gets really hard. At the same time, Eric, when you go and talk to the legislation or when you're on Dad Talk, don't talk about men so much. Don't mention dads. Don't mention fathers, because they are not sympathetic to men or fathers. They're not going to pass bills if they think that you're talking about fathers' rights. What kind of crap is that, man? Can you imagine Martin Luther King, dude, not talking about black people? Like, I want to get equality here, but you can't talk about black people.
And that's what I'm talking about. And that's what I'm talking about. For him to say that, or whoever it was that said that, to me right there, that just shows that these politicians already know what it is, and they're not going to change because it's not beneficial for them. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Dude, I mean, our movement, I think, has been steered in the wrong direction, and it's up to us guys just to be real, because real feels real. I think, Larnell, you probably do the same thing. Sometimes we get on the microphone, we don't even know which direction we're going, but we just speak from our heart, from our personal situations. And then the men show up saying, that's me. That's me. That's me.
Yep.
We are all the same, guys. We're all the same, because exactly like Mr. Palmer was saying, the system's doing exactly what it was designed to do.
Mhm.
You understand? You think that you're separate. Everybody wants to tell their story. I've got the story that's going to end this. Your story is almost identical to the person right next to you that's going through this. Believe it, guys.
matter.
Are there some extreme ones? Yes, there is.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But it's doing what it was designed to do. And it's waiting for us dads to say, enough is enough.
Yeah, and that's what I try to tell everybody that watch my show. I'm here to tell you what's really going on. I want to tell you the truth and reality. I'm not going to tell you a fairy tale. All you gotta do is that, and you go up in there and you dress up a certain way or talk a certain way. You're gonna get. No, you're not. I'm telling you that you're not. 9 times out of 10, regardless of who you are, whether you're a Democrat, a liberal, a Republican, you treat all one of the same when you go up in family court. I just talked about a police officer who was going to court in Texas and Houston, who was trying to get custody, try to get visitation. This baby mama Tess was alienating him, but she wanted child support. And this judge made it like, and a lot of people say he was a good judge. Judge Webster, he's a good judge. I said, that's not a good judge. He knew that she was alienated from it. And in the previous one, he said that you can go to jail and be arrested for alienating a parent out the picture. He didn't arrest her. He didn't charge her with contempt. What he turned around and did, because he was alienated from his child, he told him, I'm not going to let you get overnight visitation. You got to earn that because you haven't been around to be a parent, even though he was alienated. So he gave him 1 weekend. They got to meet 2 hours halfway because she moved out of the county and out of Houston. And he get to see his son for 4 hours. Saturday and Sunday. Then the next week, 2 weeks later, he can meet him 8 hours. And then for a couple of every other week, he do that again. And then eventually he get overnight. He rewarded her bad behavior. And the problem with our society, we reward these people with bad behavior. Even though she was alienating him, he got to get the punishment of seeing his son 4 hours because he don't know how it is to be a parent, but she do. You can't make this up. You just can't.
But Mr. Palmer, isn't custody interference and all that, isn't that a federal, isn't that a state crime?
It's all in there, but they don't.
503.
They don't honor that. They don't honor that when it comes to the mother. When the father does something like that, yeah, he's going to jail. He's going to be held in contempt. He might lose custody. But when it comes to the mothers, and again, these baby mama terrorists, they can do what they want to do. I did another one where the woman lied about staying in the same city as the man, and people say he was a righteous judge for dismissing the case. The only reason why Judge Webster dismissed the case because that $1,400 he was going to get, he was going to get it. The other county was going to get it, and it wasn't beneficial to him, so he had to dismiss it. He didn't do it because he was taking off for him. He was doing it because he wanted a benefit for that county.
But isn't perjury illegal?
Yes, it is. And guess what?
He
did not hold her in contempt. He did not fine her. She lied on the oath because they showed her, swearing on the oath.
Perjury.
But I told you, they can do whatever they want to do. Man can't do it. Man can't do it. He the one is going to be held in contempt. He's the one who's going to lose chance of visitation and custody. He's the one going to lose, not her.
But it says in family court.
Go ahead, brother.
And when you read the family court thing, it says that you're supposed to be, men and women are judged equally. They don't judge you by your race or religion. I mean, it says at the very top of the document. I'm confused by that.
Let me let Denzel speak on behalf of Malcolm X just one more time.
You've been had.
Just one more time.
You've been took.
Just one more time.
Right.
There you go.
Just one more time.
As the other Mr. Smith would say,
they really lied to us. They really lied to us. They really lied to us when they said it's about the best interests of the child. It's about what's right. It's about what you can prove. Hearsay is allowed in family court versus criminal court and everything else. A woman can actually bring somebody I don't know, say, yeah, he was abusive, he did X, Y, Z, and it will be allowed and they will believe her.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what do you do?
Allowed in family court versus outside any other courts. It's allowed in family court. Yeah.
Got a question here for you, Mr. Palmer, from Robert Netherton there on YouTube. He said, I'm curious how the government got involved in marriages in the first place and took away the power of the religious aspect of it and legalized marriage and divorce.
What was that what did Ronald Reagan do back in the when he was governor? What law did he pass?
No fault divorce.
No fault divorce.
What
Yeah.
fault? What did he say that
1969.
again, y'all? What did good old Ronald Reagan pass that benefit the woman? You just said it. I want this one.
No fault
No
divorce.
fault
No
divorce.
fault divorce. That's
Right.
one of the reasons why a lot of this came to play. No fault
That's it.
divorce. See, and that's the thing. Let me explain this to a lot of people that don't know me. Because you know, when you see this, I know a lot of people say, when you see this, you say dumb N-word, ghetto, jailbird, broke, low life, deadbeat. I came from a 2-parent household. My parents was married for 42 years until my dad died. And raised by both parents, and they was older parents. I was the youngest. And graduated high school, went to college, got the little 2-year degree. I never been to jail before in my life. I never even been arrested. The most I ever got was parking tickets and maybe traffic violations. I ain't never even got my license suspended. So when people try to even think of that narrative, I look at them and say, nah, whatever you think, and I get it from my own people. Nah, I didn't come from a single mother household. No, I was raised by my mother and father. My dad taught me a lot. I have a bunch of uncles and aunties as well. Most of my uncles was married 40, 50, 60 years. And the ones who did get divorced, they didn't go through child support. They didn't go through alienation. They was allowed to be a father long as they wanted to. They didn't have them problems. So, and that's why I when I knew when I was going to do this, I already knew the stigma and the backlash, the assumptions and judging the book by the cover and all that stuff. I was ready for it because I'm like, you will never be able to say, well, yeah, but you was locked up for XYZ and how can you talk about us? You was raised by a single mom and all that stuff, and you didn't know who your daddy was and all that stuff. Nah, I didn't come from that. I didn't come from that. And my dad taught me was to speak your piece, and God bless child has his own. See, my dad taught me a lot of stuff, and he's one of the reasons why I do what I do today. The worst thing that man has ever done was give a damn about what somebody say, especially when you speaking your truth. See, a lot of us started to try to don't make it worse than it had to be. Keep quiet and just like you said, Eric, just say this, but don't say men. Just say that, and maybe he'll pat you on the head and say, okay, we'll work with you. No.
Dude, and that hurts me so bad because you talk about they automatically think that this is what you're going to be going through. So you're not just going through the narrative of the family court and the deadbeat dad. You're fighting this other narrative. And I understand that's going to be very hard for these guys. But look, guys, let's speak to the movement here for a second. They use that narrative to keep us from talking, right? The only thing that's going to be able to push back that narrative is us talking and showing that. And I appreciate you for sharing that because you can't give a damn what people think. Look, man, there's people that aren't going to listen to anything you got to say in the first place. They will watch every single one of these shows just looking for the one little thing that they can to make you look like that. And that's why fuck child support, baby mama terrorists. They're going to look for that one little thing and they're not going to listen to anything that this man has to say. And I'll tell you what, man, he's knocking it out of the park. He is knocking it out of the park, guys. When do we say enough of the narrative and start pushing back? We can we got something that our father's generation and our grandparents' generation didn't have. We do have a way to organize our voices, right? And if we could get that and we could get it loud, and let me tell you something, guys, it goes way past, we're talking about Title 4D and no fault divorce and Section 8 and all these American laws. But why is Canada going through it? Why is the UK going through it? Why is Australia going through it? There was a narrative all across the whole world. Masculinity has been attacked in every country, man. And you need to, I say every country. I mean, a lot of people pattern their laws after the United States. We need to be locking arms with those guys too, man.
Yeah. And you know what? Don't get it twisted, y'all. There are plenty of men who've been locked up unjustly. I'm just telling you what they assume me. Now, it's a lot of brothers been locked up and it's been unjustly, and a lot of them been to jail because of false allegations from these baby mama terrorists. He abused me, he raped me. The step-by-step plan they use to keep you away from your child before they go to child support and get that sole custody. So I'm not saying that if you go to jail, that means you did the crime, or that means that you a bad guy, because there's so many men who've been locked up on false allegation, and all he was trying to do was trying to be a father. So I'm just telling you what they perceive me, and I'm like, I ain't never been to jail before, and I'm proud to say I've never been to jail before. I mean, you should be proud if you never been to jail, or if you've been raised by a two-parent household, you had a father. Why would you downplay that you was raised by your father?
I have.
Yeah.
I spent a night in jail for a DUI back in 2007. Oh God, they're going to use something from 20 years ago against me, but that's what they do.
They would say,
that's what they do.
Drunk. Forget what you did now and what you got going on. Again, they'll do anything to sabotage you. So again, the silver bullet. I call it a step-by-step plan. And that's what I'm saying. They will use anything to try to shame. The only thing they can use with me is shame tactics to try to keep me quiet. But y'all know how I feel about the shame tactic. Just prove me wrong about what I put out here, what I show, the people that I interview, the documentaries that I react from, and stuff like that. That's what I want. That's what I want you to do. You prove me wrong, then I'll be like, hey, you right. Hey, you right. But I ain't been proven wrong yet.
Talk about a baby mama. You have every permission from me to do a watch along on I Stand with John on your channel. And look at that one.
I did that. And
did you?
I've been did that, brother. John Mass.
Oh, okay.
I made a lot of people did not know about a John Mass, and they know about him now. And I talked about all that. I talked about all that.
Well, I want people to understand too, the custody exchange murders. It's something that's happening more and more, but they make it look like one-off situations. And I want you to understand, we talk about the narrative. One of the most dangerous things in those cases is they don't hear on those cases right away. There's no child support or anything like that to go off of. And a lot of attorneys don't want to get involved unless they can do a wrongful death lawsuit and get a lot of money. Right. So these cases just stretch out for years and years and years. And if they got a lot of publicity on them, we're going to wait. We're going to wait for a while, because after a while, people stop looking at it as much, and then we can go in there and sweep it under the rug and make sure that we do it without anybody looking. John Mass, Chad Reed, Tyrone Darling, Justin Goolsby, these cases that are going down. I got another one that's supposed to be coming on next week, guys, where another dad got shot by a boyfriend when he went to pick up his kids. I want you to speak those names on every single one of these shows and let them know, I don't care how long you stretch this thing out. We're going to make sure that they've got support, because that's what they're doing. And I want to show the world how much this is happening. Dude, if you Google custody exchange murders and try to find out how much this is going on, dude, it is so hidden. You have to really dive down deep to get it. And we know it's going on,
Also, when you look for who do the most child abuse, child neglect, and child fatalities, it took me a long time to try to find 2019 and 2020. I had to go all the way back to 2009. And when you look at this, and they don't want to talk about that. When it comes to mothers and fathers, mothers are the most abusive, the most child neglectors, and cause the most child fatalities. In 2020, did you know being abused by the mother with the boyfriend was $37,000 that year versus the father and the girlfriend that was $6,900 versus $37,000 in 2020. Between the father and the girlfriend and the mother and the boyfriend. This happens all the time. The reason why they're not going to put out there in the mass is because they know that family court will have to change them laws. Then it shouldn't be 90% of women getting custody. But they don't want to do that because that's going to mess up their money.
I want to do, my audience, your audience, a favor for the movement. There is a website that I just put down here, intodv.org. When I found out that 8% of the population says that they have been victims of false allegations, which was I want to say 20.3 million adults just in the United States, guys. That is huge, huge, huge. These are the guys that did that research. And I just found out a couple of days ago, I had a meeting with them. They're about to be doing updated statistics. They are also the ones that put out there. The research is on our side, guys. Even though that they try to skew the research, Domestic violence happened to 3.5 million women versus 4.2 million men. We know our guys are not reporting when they are getting hit because they're afraid that they will go to jail. But now we're showing almost 1 million more men being victims.
I'm glad you said that, because I tell men, if you're being abused by a woman, call the police and get arrested. Don't do all that pride and I want to look like a man. No, you call the police. Now, unfortunately, some of the police will try their best not to arrest that woman. When last time I looked at the stats on domestic violence, it says 1 out of every 4 women are abused by men, right? But when I looked up the one with men, you would think the way they talk about first when you hear domestic violence, you think, oh, man beating a woman. Yep. Actually, did you know that domestic violence on men getting beaten by a woman is 1 out of every 6? Now, it might be higher now, but it's 1 out of every 6. So that's not too far of a gap from the 1 out of every 4. So I'm like, I thought y'all said that it's just women. No, men are getting it too. And them are the ones who actually speak up. What about the ones that don't speak up? Don't say nothing. They scared. They the pride, and they don't want to look bad and all that stuff. So I could believe that men are being abused more than women, because look at Johnny Depp's situation. Look at other situations and what they say. They're not gonna believe that you 6'5" is getting beaten by a 5'2", 90-pound woman. Get out of here.
I have a page on pissedoffparent.com dedicated to abuse of men by women, and the statistics and the data is just amazing. And with the data that you're reporting, when they do that from the CDC, they kind of skew it, because they'll talk about, again, it is true that from the data, 1 out of 4 women are abused, and then they talk about, actually I think that number was 1 out of 10. But then they skew it because they'll say that abuse includes penetration of penetration abuse. Well, I'm going to give you basic biology, or I'm going to pull out an old electricity, plug-in receptacle. Yeah. Men can't be part of that other statistic. So, but if you remove those numbers, there's actually a graph that shows the 4.3 million compared to 3.5 million women in a 12-month period versus all time. That number is changing for the worse all the way around. But yeah, there's an entire page if there were men out there or women out there that feel that it only happens to women, if they go to that abuse by women.
You know what? I'm glad you said that, brother, because here's another thing that people fail to talk about. The most domestic violence in the United States of America is not heterosexual couples.
Ooh, we're going to have a fun fact on this one.
I want you to understand that the most domestic violence, they don't talk about that because the LGBTQ is protected. I don't care what nobody say. They protect. Yeah. Now, the most domestic violence in the United States are lesbian relationships.
Yep.
Lesbian relationships are the most domestic violence in the United States of America, not heterosexual man and woman violence. I want y'all to understand it, but they're not going to talk about that because, again, they don't want to open up that door because they need them votes. They're not going to do. They're not going to do that. So if people want to talk about domestic violence as what's the most domestic violence is lesbian. Not even the homosexual. It's the lesbian. We've been seeing murders of lesbian couples, but they don't want to talk about that. They make it like, oh, that was just 1 out of 20 years. No, I said it's definitely at an all-time high.
But dude, like I had one of the senators on from Australia. I want you guys to hear how crazy it is over there. She's an alienated grandma. Okay. So she's trying to sound the alarm. She's one of the most popular senators over there. And she said, it is just out of control. If you text your ex and say, can I see my child? That right there can be considered domestic violence in Australia. Now, could you imagine what those statistics and that research is going to look like over there? That is crazy, guys. But I got another little quick story that you reminded me of. I got invited to this place that on the outside seemed really good. It was where we know if you are an unmarried father, you don't just go in there and get rights to your kid once you sign up to get child support. You're going to have to go through legitimation. Okay, you're going to have to do the paternity test, get signed up on child support, and that's like fighting a court case in and of itself. Then after you do that, if you want to see your kids, we got to take them back and we got to do this. So this place, they actually help these dads get legitimation for free. And so they invited me there. I think they wanted me to see the process that these gentlemen were going through. 8 o'clock in the morning, it was 2 black fathers in there filling out the paperwork for this legitimation. They tell them straight up, if you're going to get an attorney, you don't need to fill this out because they got their own paperwork. But as long as you're not going to get an attorney, we'll let you fill this paperwork out. And these guys are sitting there having to get instructions on what to do. And then they're like, am I going to be okay? You know, and I was just sitting there like, what is going on? I could feel something wasn't right. When they get done, this place hands them a 1-sheet piece of paper that says, this is how to fight your family law case. Go turn this legitimation process in there. Dude, if those guys, X gets an attorney, a seasoned attorney, and they go in there with that piece of the paper, they're going to get their ass handed to them, but they don't care because he just signed himself up for child support. And guess what? This was government funded. So why weren't they telling these guys this? Why wasn't they warning them? So then we go into a meeting afterwards. It was like, yes, I guess they thought I was going to promote this place. And I said, you know what? I'm going to use my silver bullet when I want to find out who I'm talking to. I said, can I ask you guys a question? And he's like, sure. I said, how do you realize like real domestic violence versus a false allegation? I was like, how do you distinguish between the two? And so they look at me and they say, well, I'll tell you. When she comes in here and she can't look you in the eye, or she's, you know, and she's looking down, or she's afraid to speak, or you know, she just doesn't want to do this, or you can just tell. And I mean, dude, it went on for like 5 minutes about how she is going to act, and this is how you're supposed to distinguish domestic violence. And I look at these guys, I was like, you do realize domestic violence happens just as much to men as it does women, and you're already telling the story through the woman's eyes. They kicked me out of the office, guys.
You told the truth.
They kicked me out of the office once that happened. And this was a government funded program that is very well known. And they came out there. He's like, oh, you shouldn't have pushed back. You know, you got to be a certain way if you want a seat at the table. And we gradually get into these conversations. I was like, no, sir. I was like, if they appreciated anything I had to say, they would have just answered the question. But when you want to kick me out of the office because I said something about men, I know who you are. And that's the kind of bullcrap that goes on in the domestic violence industry.
They couldn't handle the truth, brother.
You can't handle the truth.
They couldn't.
You guys need to have like a meme or a voice war or whatever with your things.
I still got to get some more in here. I haven't figured. You got a roadcaster?
Yeah, I got the roadcaster.
Okay. I got the Hulk Hogan in there, but I got to get some more in there. I've been trying to think of some.
A lot of stuff I talk about is sad. It make you angry. So I try to have humor with a lot of my stuff to have people to laugh. Because
that's why I'm here.
It's sad. It's very sad. Make you angry. Make you do things you don't want. You'll regret. So I do that too. So my videos, whatever, don't be so sad and so hurtful and evil and stuff like that. You got to have some type of smiles, you know. It's just crazy, man.
Mr. Palmer, I don't know if we said this in the beginning, and if we did, I'll have to apologize to you. Why did you start doing this in the first place?
Good question. Now, this the tripped out part. I did the fuck child support on Facebook. That's why I started was Facebook. I did it before I went through my situation. I did it because I was tired of the media. Society saying that men don't want to be fathers. I got tired of the stigma. I got tired of the label of men do not want to be fathers. Even when I was coming up, majority of people in my neighborhood had fathers. So, and living in a 2-parent household. So I'm like, the lies that they putting out here in schools, colleges, in the streets. And I said, you know, and I used to watch Tommy Sotomayor when he was on YouTube. I was watching him as well. And he was for men's rights. And that's where I kind of thought about, you know what, let me start with this Facebook. And that was back in 2016. And I said, what should I call it? And that was when I said, what about fuck child support? I said, nah, people gonna say I'm a deadbeat and all that stuff. I said, wait a minute, I'm not a deadbeat. I'm still here and I ain't been to jail. So they can't use none of that on me. You know what? Yeah, I'm gonna use it. I didn't think it was gonna grow the way it did though, because I thought, you know, it was too controversial.
I knew it would. I was wondering how they didn't shut you down, to be honest with you.
Well, actually, let me tell you how they got me. Let me tell you how they got me. Well, when I first started, I ended up getting like 25,000, and then it went to 50,000. Then it went over to 100,000. I was at 160,000 followers. It's still up. The problem is they shut down my 2 personal pages, and now in order for me to get that page, I gotta have an ID, and the page that they didn't get rid of have a different name. So I gotta find a way to get that. Get that so I can actually get it back. Because I thought they deleted that. I thought that was the reason why I deleted all my pages, but it was my personal pages. I was surprised. And I was surprised that Facebook they allowed me to use for child support. I was surprised about that. And
you and Paul Elam, man, you're some of the guys that say some of the things, and I sit in the background and just chuckle.
Yeah.
Like, look, dude, these are things that all the guys are thinking, but you guys had the balls to go out there and say it.
I wanted to say something that the majority of men wanted to say, but they couldn't say it due to their jobs or due to they don't want to be labeled. And I tell men all the time, I say, how you say you don't want to be labeled when you've been labeled deadbeat when you trying to fight in family court? You already labeled. You already looked at as an evildoer. So whether you wearing your 3-piece suit and you wearing a for women's rights hat, or if you wearing a fuck child hat, you go in that courtroom, you could be treated the same. It doesn't make a difference. It doesn't. So
that's bad about mine.
Yeah, and that's what made me do it. But then when I went through my situation, that made me go full-fledged. So like, okay, now it's time to make a YouTube, an Instagram, a TikTok. My Instagram had 17,000 followers. My TikTok had 50,000. They shut both of them down. I've been shut down.
Really?
2 or 3 times.
Wow.
Yeah, I've been shut down. The only YouTube ain't shut me down. Yeah, I got 13,000 subscribers. So I be able to do my stuff now on YouTube. They more lenient, but they starting to do the same old. When you speak the truth and you're going against the code, they will try to shut you down and demonetize and everything else. They even had the coach Greg Adams, and he don't talk like I talk.
No, dude, and he had to have several different channels, and that's why I say for you guys, these guys that are speaking up, make sure to go to the YouTube, subscribe, ding the bell. I want you to do the same thing for Dad Talk on all of the different platforms. I think all of our shows really need to be building over on Rumble, because it feels like one of the safest places to be with what we talk about. But eventually you're going to see, it's not eventually, it's already being attacked. Guys, I mean, I'm sitting here on a page of almost 500,000 people, and we'll end up with 500 or 1,000 views. Bull crap. I had a couple of thousand followers in the last week, and you're telling me that's all that we're getting? Those people are coming because we're speaking a message that they want to hear. But how many of our guys, and I'm sure you've went through this too, are saying, I'm not getting notifications from when you go live. I'm not getting this. They suppress it. Yeah. So we are looking at some ways, and that's some of the conversations we're having behind the scenes of getting this message out even bigger. Yeah. And there's a lot of good people to do it with. And unfortunately, we know a lot of our guys are the ones that are slaves to this system, man. They have to sit there and pay that child support. And I understand, that was another conversation we had. Ones that get on there and say, stop paying child support. Everybody stop paying it. I can't tell you that, because you know what's going to happen? They're going to put you in jail.
I tell people to pay their child support. I tell people to pay your child support. And if you can, pay that back child support. So you better get you a passport. You'll be able to have your license and live your life to the fullest. Don't worry about, because all you paying the state and the state pay her. You only paying the state because she put them in the middle to be government daddy and let them pay her. Don't worry. You can't worry about what she does with that money, because the judges tell them that she has the right to do it as she please. That's their incentive for putting you on child support. And here's another thing I want y'all to know before I forget. If you really look at the child support laws, the way they're supposed to do this is, if a man get put on child support and you want to put him on child support, they're supposed to interview that man to see if he's capable of paying out of pocket. I want y'all to know that. But the problem is they don't follow that. If they follow that rule, a lot of men will be able to just pay out of pocket. They wouldn't have to go through this court system. You know why they're not going to do that? Because that's one less money in the cookie jar. Yes, if you look at the family court law, it shows that they're supposed to interview that father or that mother. And what happens is to see if he's capable of being responsible, paying that child support to her without having the courts and the government involved. But they're not going to do it because Title 4D want to get that money. So when they lie to you and say that they struggling, they broke, they're not getting child support, they lying.
Yeah,
absolutely.
When Bill Clinton passed the Responsibility Act 96 through 98. I can't remember what year
Yes,
it was off the top of my head.
it was 96.
That was really what kicked that really
Yeah,
spun
the
it on its
deadbeat
head
act.
at that point.
Deadbeat act. And I'm like, so now if you on child support, you a deadbeat. If you got back child support, you a deadbeat. If you fight to be a father, you a deadbeat. If you involved, you still a deadbeat. You just label a deadbeat. They don't care what you do or don't do. You will always be labeled a deadbeat. So the courts and that baby mama Tez reap the benefits off of it.
They want you to think that they are the only answer.
Yes.
And I'll tell you what, guys, we are the answer. If we start doing this together and realizing those tricks and come together, that's when this thing is going to stop. I tell you, I got 2 more questions before we end this. I'm going to ask the first one, and then I'm going to go to the second one, and I'll read your comments from the first one after we do the second one. But for that first question, how many of you would like to see a part 2 of this interview? Because you might get it sooner than you expect. And we're going to be talking about that in a second. So how many of you would like us to continue on this conversation for my second question? Mr. Palmer, talk to this community about us, like all these differences that they think they have and all these different organizations and the fact that they're not coming together. Talk about the importance of us coming together to fight this fight, because we need all hands on deck, man.
Let's look at the feminist movement. The feminist movement became what they are today, powerful. They run the system. And the reason for that is because of the numbers and everybody coming together. They built a sisterhood behind this. Even the LGBTQ, the alphabet community, even them, after Obama, and you have to thank Obama for this, after he gave them the salute, they was able to bring in the numbers and come together. Now, when it comes to us as men, we could do the same thing. But the problem is, not to say this again, the problem is a lot of these dudes are raised by these same baby mama tears who mold them and raise them the way they want them to be, son husbands. But that doesn't mean that we can't get the numbers. It just means we just got to go hard and do what need to get done. We have to change the laws in our mind. We got to get ourselves in order. We got to put it out there. Unfortunately, you have a lot of organizations got a hidden agenda. I have seen some movements that was for fathers and fatherhood and change the laws. Now they more about shaking hands with the politicians and commercializing. And now they more like, I'm not here to help. I'm just here to get the money and the numbers. We have to come together if we're gonna make changes or just spread awareness. See, I think our deadly machine is spreading awareness.
I'm with you, bro.
And getting people to see this is what's really going on. This has been going on for a long time. This ain't nothing that just started a year ago. This has been going on. And we have to put our differences to the side. I've been saying this for a long time. Your faith, your political ties, your race, where you're from, we need to put that to the side and build a brotherhood. We worry about what we don't get along about that later. An enemy of our enemy is a friend. We need to come together and really try to make change. Like my goal is to start doing public speakings to the streets, not just be on social media, because social media put a limit cap on how you can speak and depend on what you're talking about. And again, this is not just a black man problem. It's not just a white man problem. It's not just a Republican problem. It's not just a veteran problem. This is a man problem. And we definitely need help from women who definitely understand what we're talking about. But we as men got to do it first. If we're supposed to be the leader of the household, we're supposed to be the one to be the head. We have to move forward so then everybody else will follow. Now, do this sound like a deadbeat low life that run around and say, fuck child support because I don't want to pay child support? Or is this really a concerned father or another brother that really want to make change in our society for our youth and especially our young boys to not go through the same situation? You be the judge of that.
Yeah.
I think that says it, dude. We actually had a lot of people in here saying they want to see us do a part 2 of this. So guess what, guys?
I'm glad
You're going to get what you want because Mr. Palmer, tell them where your channel's at because we're going to be doing part 2 in just a few hours on your channel. Yes. And then I get to sit in the interview seat.
Yes. And brother, you're welcome to come as well.
Oh, thank you.
Welcome to come as well. We will be going live at 3:00 Central Standard Time. That's 4:00 Eastern Standard Time. And I will have Eric Carroll and my brother to come on the channel. We're gonna definitely do a part 2 where I'm gonna interview him and talk about how he started, because he's one of the people that showed me the differences, and other fathers' rights movement activists who showed me the difference, where I really started doing my research and learning what's really going on in the system. So we're gonna talk about, you know, what he's doing from the past all the way to now, how we got started, us talking behind the scenes to now we working together, and plus the people who told him don't have him on the show. Please don't put him on the show. Not him, not him. You know, when I had Cornell Smith, I was not aware that he got backlash for coming on my show, even though I kept it clean, I didn't curse, and we actually had a real dialogue about reproductive coercion and paternity fraud. See, that's what I'm saying. They'll do anything to try to shame you, to make you look bad, to try to get you to be quiet and narrate that you just a deadbeat, don't want to be a father. Why would you want to do a paternity test mandatory? You shouldn't worry about all that. It's about the child. Get out of here. Get out of here. So yes, 3:00 Central Standard Time. We'll be going live on my channel. My channel, if you type in Mr. Palmer on YouTube, it will definitely pop up. Also, Eric put the link
in the comments, guys.
put in the comments already. I had Judge O'Brown come on my page a couple of months ago. You know, it's people that I have to say that they know exactly what I'm talking about. They've been there, done it. They understood fully. And I had Judge Vonda B, who is now the
really,
yes, she's now the family. She's now the family court judge in Texas. I think it's in Dallas. Yeah, she was on there before, and I asked her, "What made you come on my show, knowing you'll get the backlash?" She said, "No, you speak the truth, and it's about what's right, and I'm for fathers."
So I don't even want anybody in my inbox or calling me or anything. Why would you put somebody that's got their organization named that on the show? Or why would you go on that? Because I'm not going to listen to you. The one thing, if you want to make a valid argument, I want you to listen to anything that we've said on here or that we'll say later and say, this is where I disagree. Because I guarantee you, we got the research to back it. Get past that, guys. And I'm going to tell you, I had to go through this too, Larnell. I was up in Baltimore not long ago, and we went to a church. There was 9 out of 10 of the black fathers that was there, dude, came from a fatherless home. And now they're trying to be fathers themselves, and they are just getting their asses handed to them. But at one point in time, I heard the pastor there. He's like, get the hell out of here. And he started cussing and everything. And being a pastor's son, I was sitting back like, really? But he got to talk to me. He said, you got to understand something. I'm talking to them in ways that they understand. It's hard out here. He's like, we had 1,500 shootings since the beginning of this year, and they call it a shooting. But what they're not telling you is those were attempted murders, because if they shot, they were trying to hit somebody. Right. So they say like 300 murders. No, that was 1,500 attempted murders is what was going on. And guys, it might have a different ring or tone to it, but we're talking about the same thing. They are attacking masculinity in every household, in every race, in almost every single country. And so I want you guys to make sure that you get out there and support, because listen to what the gentleman's saying. Dude, you're knocking it out of the park. You're knocking it out of the park. For anybody that can't get past that name, that's your problem.
Yeah. And to be honest, which is not even, it started out, that was my organization on Facebook and even on YouTube, but I'm just Mr. Palmer. When you think of F Child Support, you think of Mr. Palmer. So, I mean, I don't have to even say, I don't have to wear the hat. That don't make me. Just me talking and dialecting with y'all just shows enough. I just say anybody just prove me wrong. That's all you got to do. And that's the link where we'll be going on at 3:00 Central Standard Time. And it's nothing, I'm going to say lastly for, if people know I get back on the couch. What I want you to realize, them same men who came from single mother homes, I bet you that most of them was manipulated, that the father didn't want to be involved. And I bet you they did not realize what their mother was really doing until they went through that situation. A lot of brothers come on my channel say, I did not realize how my mother really was, because I was manipulated until I went through the same ordeal. Because when they told their mama what this woman is doing and what I'm trying to fight for, the mama say she should get custody. I don't see what the problem is. Why are you trying to fight against her and all this stuff? Or when he tried to fight for his rights, the mother, his biological mother, take up for her. And then they realized that that's why my dad ain't been around. You alienated him or you ran him off. I hear a lot of brothers say that. White, black, Latino, everybody say the same thing. I did not realize that it wasn't that my father was a piece of shit. It was my mother. Now I ain't saying it ain't none that really just didn't want to be a father. We ain't talking about them. I ain't anybody that plan to have children and you don't want to be a father because you're not with her no more because she moved on, all that stuff. I don't condone them. They deserve whatever they get. I'm talking about the men who wanted to be fathers, who wanted to be there, is not allowed to be there. That's it, man. That's it. But at the same time, you can't say, well, you met this guy, he had a bunch of kids and a bunch of baby mamas, and you had to have baby number 10, and you want to sit back and say he a deadbeat. You knew what it was. And you need to take your accountability. You chose single motherism. You knew what exactly was going on. So don't come with that. You don't get that slide either. See, accountability is the one thing they not doing in our society. They rewarding bad behavior. So
Dude, first thing yesterday morning, I find myself talking to another dad, and he was talking to me about dad talk and asking me what I did. And so, he asked me, he's like, what is dad talk today? Like, I don't understand. What is it you do? And I was like, sure. I was like, I have a podcast that talks about the challenges men face in divorce and, in society. First thing this father tells me, man, there's a lot of dads that do abandon the family or that don't need to be there with their kids.
false.
And I'm sitting there thinking, I said, are you married? And he's like, yeah. I was like, you got kids? Yeah. You love them? Yeah. I was like, you work hard to provide for them? Yeah. And I was like, that's sad that another dad, the second that I mentioned dad, that your first thought is there's a lot of dads that don't need their kids. And look, here is these blue-pilled men, guys, that they don't even realize they are creating a part of the problem. This guy had sons.
Oh, wow.
And so the first time that a man is mentioned, that's what's going to come out of your mouth. You guys have been brainwashed. Hit that Denzel thing again, man.
You need to do your red pill.
Hey, no problem.
You've been had. You've been took. You've been hoodwinked. Bamboozled. Led astray.
You know who taught him that. You know who taught him that.
Dude, it hurts me so bad because it's like, dude, this guy's he'll be one of the ones like, not me. I'm a good father. I do this. And it's like, so why in the world did you say that? Was your dad a bad guy? No, I had a really good dad. You had a good grandfather? Yeah. Why is that the first thing that comes out of your mouth? Dude, these men can be more critical of men than the women can. And I'll be honest with you, some of my biggest supporters are women. They're grandmas, stepmoms.
And that's why I say that when it comes to us as men, most men is not gonna side with us because you're gonna have guys who say they male feminists, and like you just said, what that guy said. Oh,
Barack Obama.
I told people about Barack.
I hate to say it, man. I sat there and watched him on a stage say, I am a feminist.
Black men,
you can look that up on YouTube.
And black men need to be better fathers. I'm like, we're the most involved fathers in the nation. What are you talking about?
Dude, there is an interview with Oprah and Michelle where she asked Michelle about men, and she says, men be better. The whole thing was about men need to be better husbands. They need to be better fathers. They just need to be better all the way around. That's the only thing you can think of when you talk about men, the ones that are out there fighting the wars for the country that you're sitting in that seat for.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, don't get me started, man.
That's why I tell people Obama was not the best president in the nation in the United States of America. Because for him to say the things, to do some of the things he did and it didn't do, I can't sit back and say he was the best president. No, sorry.
I'll say the same thing about George Bush. I mean, like, dude, these are people that they've been brainwashed with these certain ideals, and they're a real leader, a real president, somebody that wanted to make the nation better. Instead of talking about making America great again, if you really want to make America great again, you make the family great again. You would start looking at where this got broken apart. And I don't see any of them talking about it right now. I don't think we have any true leaders anymore.
You know why? Really because it's not going to benefit their votes in their pockets because they need that money. That's what I'm saying. It's not about family units. It's about reaping the benefits off of man pain.
Yeah, women are voting more. They're voting more liberal. I mean, that's just the data. And they're going to their base, which is why we all have said for years that we need to get the people involved here, get the millions of people saying, if you don't change these laws, we won't vote for you. We're not going to take it anymore. We're just not going to take it. But we've got to get people, men, women, because everyone's impacted. That was the data studies showed it was a $1 trillion taxpayer impact every decade for this fatherless, for the issues that we have here. We've got to make the change. We've got to get people involved. And when we get the millions of people involved, then we can make change. Not until then.
That's it, man. We got to have our people before we can go out there and do it, guys. And you got to don't be one of the ones that gets divided and think, this is my group. These are the ones that are going to take up for me. This is an issue that is the only side that these people are on is the one with the money. That is it. It is not about your family. It is not about anything else, the best interest of the child. It is about what keeps this system going. And let me tell you something. The system needs you dads just as bad as your families need them, because without you dads, they wouldn't exist. We didn't come to a $60 billion a year industry because dads aren't trying. Right. We got there because these dads are doing everything they can to be in their kids' lives. And I'll be damned if you're going to keep that narrative around as long as I'm alive, dude. I'm ready to fight it, guys.
Yeah, and people,
Mr. Palmer, let's get out there and let's shout it to the rooftops, man. I'm ready to march the streets with you. I'm ready to go to these other countries and say enough is enough. I'm done with your bullshit, man. I mean, I don't know any other way to put it, but you know what? We got to save something for part 2, guys.
Oh, most definitely.
Before we get out of here, and look, I want you guys to know too, I'm not in the interview seat, the interviewee seat as much. So there's been a lot of challenges and things that I've went through, and there was reasons why I made this show that you might not even heard about. So there might be something I'm going to drop on that channel today, and to have your support there would be amazing. Make sure to come on. And I want to get to this before we get off. Mr. Palmer, what days are you doing your shows, and what are some of the ways that people can support you? There might be a lot of people that want those hats.
I do my lives in the evening, Monday through Friday at 4:30 Central Standard Time or 5 o'clock. That's 5 o'clock. That's 5:30 Eastern Time. On weekends, I usually go on at 11 o'clock in the morning Central Standard Time. The way to support the channel, definitely donate to the channel, the Cash App, because all I'm doing with the money is trying to build my
channel
podcast to bigger production. And also, I told you I want to do the same thing that Eric's doing. Start doing one-on-one interviews, travel, doing documentaries and everything, because it need to go out to the masses. I want to do public speakings and so on. So it's definitely it takes money to make things happen. I mean, regardless of how you see it, money is power. So,
and I want to help them get some of those out too, guys. Yeah. We want to do it together.
So yeah, that's the times I go on. Again, Facebook, I'm on there when I post that. I'm just going live. I don't, even my Instagram, I don't do all that since they shut it down and I had to start over. My YouTube is where I'm at now. So definitely need the support, spreading awareness, and talk about these unfortunate situations that the mainstream media is not going to talk about.
Absolutely. Joshua Weeblehouse, before we get out of here on YouTube, said, so how do we win against big money if we're drained of all of our money? I want you guys to think outside of the box. Most of you are thinking that in order for us to get there, you got to stand up and you got to pull out your wallet and say, well, I don't have anything in here. I don't have any stars. I don't have any super chats and stuff that I can give. Right. You know what? We're asking for your involvement. When you like, share, and subscribe. Look, if everybody showed up and his channel had 1 million subscribers and I did, we wouldn't have to ask you for no money, because we would get advertising on the channel and then we can use that to fight. Okay. We did it when we didn't have any money and we kept putting it in there. What makes you think that we're not when we get it there? So you showing up, like, sharing, and subscribing helps. Okay. It even helps more than sometimes the little donations that are coming in, because that's going to be sustainable income. So we build it that way. Then I've already shown you, I can get into the political arena. I can get there and we can get those chats. But the next time I go, instead of it just being me with a few different guys behind me, if I'm bringing an army and we're bringing all colors, all of them to the table saying this is the message, that's when change is going to happen, guys. We've got to change the way. If you want change, we've got to change, because right now the movement's been doing the same things. And where the hell has that got you? It's got us a whole lot of nowhere. Okay. I'm just going to spit some truth to you. We got to change. There's also some guys out there. I don't know what your talents are. You could hold fundraisers for us. I mean, you could hold fundraisers. You could hold events. You could get invites. Mr. Palmer's saying that he's wanting to do some public speakings. I'm not going to lie to you. I hate public speaking. You put me in this studio right here. This is where I'll do my speaking. I hate doing it in front of people, man. But here's a guy that's saying that he's wanting to speak. Get him in your neighborhood. Book him so he can get there. But understand, when you ask him to come and speak, he's going to need an airplane. He's going to need a hotel. He's going to need food. He's going to need a rental car. He's going to need all that. And then you still have your life that you got to take care of. Let me tell you about this man. I've talked to him a couple of times in the past month. And both times that I talked to him, he was on the phone at work. And I could hear him working in the background. They were constantly saying, hey, I need this. I need that. He's like, yeah, I'll get that. But Eric, let me talk to you. He's sitting there working towards this movement while he's out there busting his ass, guys. And if you want us to be able to put our full-time attention towards these things, I'm going to tell you, we can do a lot more when we're not sitting here worried about how the lights are going to stay on. Because that's a stressful thing. If we actually had something to pull from, I want to make some media. I know you do too. In order to make that media, to get those cameras, to get this message where it needs to be, we just got to organize a little bit better and change the way we do things. So for those of you that can't donate right now, like, share, subscribe, not just to Dad Talk. Make sure you're going over to Mr. Palmer and do we need to say what I just said on every single episode. Bring somebody with you. Bring grandma, bring grandpa, bring aunts, uncles, nephews, nieces. Bring them all in here because those are strong voices behind this calls too. And don't tell me that their side of the family's not getting alienated as well, because they are. They are the lost side of that conversation. Now, when they don't listen to dads, will you listen to grandma? Will you listen to grandpa? And let them speak on your behalf. Change the way that we've been doing it. Okay?
Yep.
I can feel it, dude. There's something different about 2023, guys. 2022, I felt like a beat up puppy dog. And I was tired, man, from all of that travel. I feel something is happening, guys. And I don't know if you there on the screen can feel it. But enough of the bullshit. Let's get some real movement, man.
Change the law of your mind. Change the law of your mind, fellas.
And to that, I mean, it's, get educated, have the conversations with people that are outside the echo chamber. I mean, that's a whole other thing. I mean, like, share, subscribe, watch the show. I mean, not to brag, but I'm able to be on in the morning show during the week with Eric, but I'll have it on my TV, on my phone, and on my computer, my non-work computer going. So it's getting the shares. I'm watching it. The subtitles, show that when you have conversations, get educated, get resources that actually go back and listen to this podcast. That first 20 minutes when Mr. Palmer was, I might need to get that
out, wasn't he?
I mean, he was like, bam, 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 all the way down. But, that is some good, solid information, and start conversations. They may be uncomfortable. If you're unsure, come back, ask questions, get in the support groups. You got to get this out there, and you're going to get people interested, get them over to the shows and get them involved. That's how this is going to change. Otherwise, it's talking in an echo chamber.
There's some other challenges behind this, and I know Larnell can definitely relate to this. A lot of the stuff that you even heard on this podcast, we've said it millions of times before, right? And it feels like it's not that we don't have different things to talk about, but this is information that needs to get out there. If we got that one guy that's wanting to know what's going on in his life or how does he get involved, he didn't show up on those previous episodes. So sometimes it might sound the same and you're like, I've already heard this before. We still need you here, man. We still need you here.
Over and over, because I don't want you to forget nothing. I want you to remember what I'm talking about. They know. I repeat, go back to the same stats, to the same. I would definitely do that because I don't want nobody to forget. And like you said, somebody new may be on there. They need to know. I didn't know this. Yeah. They hid this from you purposely. So yes.
We want you to be able to repeat the stuff that we're saying in these conversations, right? Because that's how you fight back at the narrative. This is the education that you need. And you're not going to find this on a page of statistics, man. We know some of the statistics too, but you need to know where the bull crap comes in. Just like that, like I said with the dad, there's a lot of deadbeat dads like, dude, you are a lost dad that is just holding the thumb down on other dads and you don't even see it.
You telling me that 90% of women who got custody, you telling me that 90% of these dudes are deadbeats? Over 30% of them are not even a biological father. and they still deadbeats. Come on.
And then they say that the
Don't
issue
be-
is equal. You're telling me that the
They make it
10% or a little bit more of these moms that are losing custody are all alienated? Dude, they are there, but they are a very small minority, and I will fight for them just as much. But first, I want to see you fighting for us.
Exactly.
It is because of the bias that we've allowed against men that
Yeah.
you're going through it now, because if you lose custody, you had to do something really wrong, because dads don't win custody.
And
You're
they
still fighting towards the same thing when you get in here in these fathers' rights groups, and we're saying what we're saying.
And they know this. That's the sad part about it. People know how it really is in this courtroom. Not everybody, but a lot of them do know. And I realize the reason why they are who they are, because they don't give a damn about these children.
Absolutely,
All
man.
about the money.
Point blank. They don't care about these children. So,
Guys, we're going to go take some nature breaks. We'll be right back. It ain't going to be too long. Make sure to get out there on Mr. Palmer's channel. I'll try to put a link to it in the YouTube community. And this one is just going to be on YouTube, right?
yes, I don't do it on Facebook since they took the
Since they took the page away.
Yeah, so I can't.
So you guys, let's make sure that we show him a little support for everything that he did today. And let's get over there and let's make the communities connect, man, because that's what it's all about. My brother, I appreciate you for coming on. Dwayne, I don't know if you're going to join us. I hope so. And
Plan on it.
you guys go get some lunch. Come back. We're going to do some more dad talk.
That's right.
Here in a little bit. Hey everybody, Eric Carroll here. Thank you for tuning in to another exciting episode of Dad Talk Today. While we fight for you, we would ask for you to please help fight for us. Like, subscribe to our channel, and ring that bell so you get notifications every time we go live. There's also Super Chat, patreon.com/Dad Talk Today, and other ways you can support our channel. Thank you for being here, and we will see you next time.